Then what happened? The last time we saw him, Easter Sunday, the last words, a blessed Easter, as he gave us his blessing. You couldn't, the day that we believe Jesus rose from the dead and shares that victory with us, in which we trust by divine mercy, Pope Francis now shares in abundance. You couldn't have choreographed it better, and we thank him for that. The way he lived and the way he died, he was a great teacher, which the Pope is always called me.
We know that President Trump could be speaking very soon. The White House is taking part in a special Easter ceremony this Easter Monday. You can see the president and the first lady there at the White House. Are we going to listen in? Let's do that.
A very happy Easter to everyone. It was a beautiful day yesterday, and it's a beautiful day today. We don't have to worry about sunburn, but looks like it's not going to be raining. It's going to be really something special. 40,000, 42,000 people are expected all throughout the day, and it's an honor to have you. I just signed an executive order putting the flags of our country, all of them, all federal flags and state flags, at half-mast in honor of Pope Francis. So he was a good man, worked hard. He loved the world, and it's an honor to do that. I want to thank everybody for being here. This is some band. I've heard this band actually indirectly for 4 years and very directly now for 4.5. And I like the direct method even better. But the Marine Corps band is very, very special. Thank you very much. What a great job. Thank you. Thank you. I also want to thank the National Park Service, the job they do in making everything so beautiful and spiffy. And I'm very difficult when it comes to that. I will tell you, very, very difficult. And I say they have done an incredible job. You just have to look around and see. And I just want to give a special thank you to our great First Lady who organized this entire event. She worked very, very hard on it. She worked very hard. I said, "What are you doing?" She said, "I'm working on the egg roll." I said, "That sounds like a lot of fun." And we're going to have a lot of fun in just a couple of minutes. But again, our country is doing very well. We had the highest number of recruits, enlistments that we've had in, I think, 28 or 29 years, and I'm sure we're going to actually beat that number. It's all happened. Since November 5th, it's all happened. Enrollment in the military is at a record, and enrollment in the police force, fire forces, and all of the different law enforcement groups. We're setting records, and 6 months ago, we couldn't get anybody. And now we're setting records. That's sort of testament to what's happening in terms of the spirit of our country. We love our country, and it's been something very, very special.
All right, President Trump, First Lady Melania Trump there at the White House. He signed an executive order this morning saying that the flags, all federal flags, will be lowered to half-mast. We want to get to correspondent Barbie Nadeau now live in Rome with the very latest on the Pope's passing. Barbie, have you learned anything else since we've last visited with you in the last hour about the cause, perhaps, of the death?
Well, we are waiting to hear on the official cause of death, and it may not be directly given to us. We may have to look at the death certificate. That's something that people are speculating about right now. But we do know that he did die in his residence. He wasn't taken to any sort of emergency room. He died in where he lives in Santa Marta, which is a rather humble place inside the Vatican City, which we may never get the full details of his last minutes of life. But we do know how he spent the last hours of his life. He was in St. Peter's Square, blessing the crowds with what voice and energy he had left. And then he took that final ride around St. Peter's Square in his Pope mobile, where he was kissing babies and blessing the crowds. He looked unwell. There's no question about that. But it was really just a testament of the strength of his faith that he was able to just give that last bit of energy and you know, finish his life on Easter Sunday, one of the most important days of the Catholic calendar there in St. Peter's Square. You know, he spoke, he gave that blessing from the same balcony where they announced his election back in 2013. So it really comes full circle, and you know, it's a very poignant moment. A lot of people in St. Peter's Square right now mourning the loss of this great man, their great leader, and certainly the citizens of Rome, you know, are mourning the loss of a fellow Roman, which is very much what he had become in his time here.
Barbie Nadeau, thank you for your coverage this morning, live in Rome for us.
Pope Francis spent his final days, as he did most of his life, in service to the Catholic Church and advocating for compassion around the world. As his health faded, his legacy became clear, a quiet testament to a lifetime of service, mercy, and hope.
Elected in 2013, Pope Francis emerged as a breath of fresh air, a humble, reform-minded leader. Born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 1936. He was celebrated for his outreach of the marginalized and his bold willingness to reinterpret Catholic teachings for a modern world, yet his tenure was far from universally embraced. Pope Francis leaves behind a legacy as layered as it is influential. To some, he was a beacon of progress, a compassionate leader unafraid to challenge convention in pursuit of a more inclusive church. To others, his reforms represented a departure from tradition. He was the first Jesuit to serve as pontiff, the first from the Americas and the Southern Hemisphere. He was also the first pope to address the U.S. Congress.
The Golden Rule also reminds us of our responsibility to protect and defend human life at every stage of its development.
Bergoglio was ordained in 1969 and became Archbishop of Buenos Aires in 1998 and made cardinal by Pope John Paul II in 2001. Following the resignation of Pope Benedict in 2013, he was elected as the successor. He chose Francis as his papal name in honor of Saint Francis of Assisi.
Perché il celibato non è un dogma di fede.
Pope Francis's legacy was marked by choices that reshaped the Catholic Church, often pushing boundaries in ways that ignited as much criticism as admiration. He affirmed the Church's opposition to abortion and remained a staunch critic of gender theory and gender reassignment surgery, and spoke out against same-sex marriage to defend the traditional family. But he also made statements seen as controversial within the Catholic Church.
Questo non è giusto. Le persone di tendenze omosessuali sono figli di Dio.
Many traditionalists saw this as a dangerous deviation from centuries-old doctrine, questioning whether the Church was losing its core identity. In 2015, Pope Francis warned that the Earth was sick, urging immediate global action against climate change. This stance placed him at the forefront of environmental advocacy, and it drew criticism from those who felt the Church should remain apolitical. Amid escalating tensions in the Middle East, he repeatedly championed the plight of Palestinians, calling for the immediate release of hostages and condemning the violence, a stance that, according to CNN, was interpreted by some as taking sides in a deeply polarized conflict. Equally contentious were his remarks on modern reproductive ethics. He denounced surrogacy as inhumane and despicable, a strong condemnation that ignited fierce debates about the evolving nature of family. His language left many wondering where the balance between compassion and tradition truly lay. These bold moves were energizing a large segment of progressive Catholics, while also exposing deep fault lines within the Church. For many, Pope Francis was a visionary reformer, an advocate for mercy and inclusion. But for others, his reinterpretations of doctrine, whether on sexuality, family, or the environment, challenged the very foundation of Catholic tradition. And now, with his passing, during this Jubilee year, a timely tradition reserved for renewal, forgiveness, and profound spiritual reflection, the impact is even more profound. His death now gives the celebrations a tone of mourning and introspection. His life and legacy will continue to inspire debate, reflection, and ultimately the hope for a church that can reconcile the old with the new.
Despite his illness and his failing health in recent weeks and months, I think people are just waking up this morning just stunned because they saw the video over the weekend of him blessing the faithful at St. Peter's.
How many people we know, our circle of friends, our family members, 88-year-old man, they don't like to get out and do anything. I mean, they're acting 88. You know, come on, Grandpa, get up. We got to go get you out of your chair. This guy wanted to be out with the people, bless them, pray for people. He wanted to do everything. And, of course, as Cardinal Dolan said, we don't know when we're going to die. So he wanted to do everything despite his health.
Yeah.
So that's what's great about
these
this
images
Pope.
from just yesterday.
He wanted to be with the people, not in a bed in a room. So. Well, Vice President J.D. Vance and his family were in Rome for Easter, and they attended the service at the Vatican. And, of course, the Vice President met with the Pope following Mass, as you can see right there. Correspondent Julia Benbrook is live from the White House for us this morning with a reaction. And, Julia, good morning. What can you tell us a little bit more about the Vice President's meeting with the Pope yesterday? We know from reports that the Pope did give his 3 children, the Vice President, chocolate bunnies on this day. So he was even acting playful the day before his death.
Well, Pope Francis spent his final days in service to the church in celebration of Easter and then making a final high-profile public appearance. As you mentioned, he also used some of that time to meet with United States Vice President J.D. Vance. And according to the Vice President's office, during that sit-down, Vance thanked the Pope for taking the time to meet and expressed his appreciation for the hospitality that the Vatican had shown him and his family. Now, following the news of the Pope's passing, Vance released this statement. He wrote on social media, quote, "I just learned of the passing of Pope Francis. My heart goes out to the millions of Christians all over the world who loved him. I was happy to see him yesterday, though he was obviously very ill. But I'll always remember him for the below homily that he gave me in the very early days of COVID. It was really beautiful. May God rest his soul." So one of the last leaders to have the chance to meet with Pope Francis was Vice President J.D. Vance.
And Julia, as you know, leaders around the world are now reacting to the death of Pope Francis this morning. We just heard from President Trump at the White House. They're behind you. Talk to us about the reaction that you're hearing from the White House this morning.
Well, the White House early in the morning released a social media post saying, "Rest in peace." And it included photos of Pope Francis with both President Donald Trump and Vice President J.D. Vance, that photo of Vance coming from that recent visit. And then Trump himself took to social media, writing a brief post. He said, "Rest in peace, Pope Francis. May God bless him and all who loved him." Now, as you mentioned, Trump just spoke at that annual White House Easter egg roll. It's taking place on the South Lawn right now. And he started by saying that he had signed an executive order to have the flags fly at half-mast to honor Pope Francis. He then gave a few brief remarks. It was quick, but he described Pope Francis as a good man, saying he worked hard and that it was an honor to do that. Now, earlier today, White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt was saying that at this point, there are not specific plans for Trump to travel for the funeral for the Pope, but she also didn't rule it out, just said that there are not any direct plans right now. Now, there has been some tension between Pope Francis and the Trump administration, as, you know, shortly before Pope Francis was hospitalized, he did share some sharp criticism of the Trump administration's hardline immigration policies.
All right, Julia Benbrook for us live at the White House this morning. Thank you, Julia. Well, joining us now is Bree Dale, investigative journalist and Vaticanist with the Daily Wire. Bree, we appreciate you joining us today. Let's talk a little bit about this Pope, because people are already discussing who his successor is. A lot of people are saying that this Pope liked to stir things up, that Pope Francis, quote, was different, calmer approach as far as his successor. And someone, this was a quote this morning from Britain's Catholic Herald magazine, a renewed clarity of doctrine, talking about the successor. Are you already hearing that this morning about who they're looking for?
Oh, Joe and Chris, welcome to the Vatican news cycle. It's been years, Joe and Chris, for the speculation and who's going to be the next pope, and it spans all political polarities and ideologies. But there is an old saying: those who walk in expecting to be pope into the conclave come out a cardinal. So right now we are watching and waiting. I will say, if I was to speculate right now, I would say to people, watch the Italian cardinals in particular. There has been, over the past few years, some real issues within the internal machinations of the Vatican state. We know about the scandals with regards to the financial scandals, dealing with a London property, all of those things coming together, and the Italians really know what's going on internally. So what I've been hearing for years has been the Italians are really looking to get someone who understands the political machinations but are not captured by the ideology. And that does point to a few cardinals in the Italian part of the Curia. One in particular is Cardinal Pier Battista Pizzaballa, who is the Jerusalem Patriarch, the Latin Patriarch of Jerusalem. He's been on quite a bit recently in the media because of his role in the Middle East. He understands state politics clearly, but he also understands the machinations of the Italian state and the Vatican state. And he's a very prayerful individual, tends to lean a bit conservative as well. So we have to watch, though, because it's always an adventure. And this one will be a big adventure for sure.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that, Bree, because the Italian who you described would I think be more of a traditionalist. But when you look back at what happened in September of 23, when Pope Francis consecrated 21 new cardinals, which is a very high number, an unusually high number, some may argue that the next pontiff could come from out of that and kind of continue on with the reforms. What are your thoughts on that?
Very, I mean, again, speculative, but
Sure.
Potentially yes. But, you know, he has also really taken cardinals from the peripheries, from outside of, you know, Europe. And a lot of those cardinals are still very new and not very familiar with the Vatican itself. And sadly, there haven't been a lot of consistories or get-togethers with the cardinals for them to understand who's who in the zoo. Now, it is interesting. You don't have to be a cardinal to be made pope. A lot of people think that that's the case because the cardinals are the ones who are voting inside the conclave, but there's no speculation or specification that you have to be a cardinal per se. So it really could be any ordained priest, bishop, archbishop, or cardinal who can be made pope, and that's why it's always a little bit fun to speculate. But again, I'd say, you know, there are a lot of websites out there that are pushing a whole bunch of different polarities. I'd say very much calm down. This is going to be a process, and especially because of what you've said, Pope Francis has filled the consistory. A lot of people don't know the new cardinals, including themselves. So they're going to get to know each other pretty soon. And in fact, we heard from the Holy See Press Office today that it could be as early as Wednesday that the Pope's body be transferred to St. Peter's to begin the viewing. And he has made some changes on what his funeral is going to look like, but things are kind of up in the air right now. So we are really standing by for the official schedule.
Pope Francis, Bree, was very progressive, is how he's being mentioned today. And he loved using this right here, social media, to get his message out about global climate change and everything else, LGBTQ community. And that was part of it. Do you see the new Pope sort of going back? As a kid, I'm almost 53. I don't ever remember, of course, any Pope being outspoken like that in the media, using the media to get the message across. Do you see the next Pope laying back, maybe not doing as much? Because according to Pope Francis, he wanted to use the media, as told by his assistants, to get the word out for the kingdom, to save lives for the kingdom. That was why he used media so much, and taking selfies and things like that. Are we going to see less of that with the new successor?
Well, John Paul II actually paved that way. He was really the individual who got himself out and about. Before John Paul II, there wasn't a lot of papal visits to different countries. And yet John Paul II, his background was very much into media. He was in theater before he became a priest. And so he really was that charismatic Pope. And what's interesting is that his successor, Pope Benedict XVI, was painfully introverted. So it was very difficult for him to step into those shoes. And I think Pope Francis tried to bridge that gap at his age. But it is interesting you bring out the progressive side of Pope Francis, and certainly the media and those who are involved in the political machinations in the Curia really pushed Pope Francis to be progressive, but he never really truly crossed the line of changing doctrine, despite what maybe some people have claimed. And I think there's a reason behind that. I think God's been in control of that as well. But he is a South American Jesuit. A lot of them are very much involved with the movements of liberation theology. He was very close to Leonardo Boff, who is a known liberation theologian. He invited him to the Vatican several times. So certainly there has been some political moves and more humanist moves coming from this Jesuit Pope. But who knows what the future holds? I do think that from what I have gotten within my time in the Vatican, and I'm back here in the States right now, but when I've lived in the Vatican for over 5 years, what I received from those in the Curia is there is a definite desire for a return to the foundational cultural traditions that the church has always had, and not a lot of this humanist mentality that we've seen, especially, of course, we want to take care of the earth. That's what all Christians are called to do, to be good stewards of the earth. But the focus really is salvation of souls. And I do believe that the new generation of cardinals and bishops coming in are leaning more traditional because they see that. And I'm not sure if you've seen all the reports coming out of over Easter, but there have been so many hundreds of thousands of people who have come into the Catholic Church who've converted over the last weekend. And it's young people who are returning to tradition in particular that the church is hearing this call. And it has been under Pope Francis's pontificate, which is interesting. Is it a reaction, or is it really a move of the Holy Spirit where people are seeing the need to have that grounding in chaos, in a world of chaos?
All right, very detailed information there. Bree Dial, thank you for joining us. Our favorite Vaticanist. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Well, joining me now, joining us, Nova Koski, Roman Catholic author, the best-selling author of 100 Ways John Paul II Changed the World, and managing partner of Nova Media. Robert, you knew the Pope. You met Pope Francis. Tell us a little bit about your history.
Hey, good to be with you guys. Yeah, I've been working as a journalist in the Catholic Church for Catholic publications for, the last 30 years. And I happened to be at the Vatican when Pope Francis was elected. I was about 50 yards away from him when he stepped out for the first time. A couple of years later, I came back to Rome with a group of Catholic business people and got to meet Pope Francis. And it was a thrill. I had met John Paul II 5 times as a journalist and publicist, and had the chance to meet Pope Francis. It was a great moment. He was very human, very welcoming, wonderful experience with him.
What will the Pope's legacy be?
He's going to have a mixed legacy, I think, among faithful Catholics. I think he was a bit of a head scratcher, but I think his legacy will be one of unfortunately, of departure from the traditions of the church. But as Bree was explaining, I think that the cardinals that are going into conclave in a week or two are going to they're going to have a choice. Is the next pope going to be in line with Francis? Is he going to be a pope that kind of swings back to where John Paul and Pope Benedict were? Or is it going to where's it going to swing? And we as Catholics believe that the Holy Spirit chooses the Pope, but we also believe that these are human cardinals, and are they going to listen to the Holy Spirit? So that's really what they need to be concerned with, is what are they listening to? Who are they listening to? We all know that there was a lobbying effort to get Pope Francis elected by other cardinals during Benedict's pontificate, something that is against canon law, but it happens, and this is the result. well. Pope Francis, of course, being the first priest ordained after the Second Vatican Council. He was formed in a Jesuit seminary in South America, probably the worst formation you could ask for in the last 100 years as a priest. And he, again, from a socialist country. So this is the question that the cardinals will have to ask themselves. Where are we going to go next? Are we going to listen to the Holy Spirit, as Bree was explaining, or is it going to continue the Francis pontificate the way that Benedict continued John Paul's pontificate?
Was that the balance? On one side, being the hands and feet of Jesus, and then the other side is listening to people behind the scenes going, hey, that's great that you're doing that, but we need you to speak out and be progressive on all this other stuff going on around the world. World wars, the climate, everything else under the sun. Was that a hard balance for this Pope?
I think so, maybe a little bit, but ultimately I think he understood that the Pope's number one job is the salvation of souls. And for John Paul II, his new evangelization effort really encapsulated all that he did. And he understood that the church exists to evangelize, and the head of the church, well, of course, Jesus Christ is the head of the Catholic Church, the founder and head. The Pope is simply his earthly representative. His job is to lead people to Jesus Christ. And that has to be the number one job. And if that isn't the legacy that a Pope leaves, then it's a sorry legacy.
Talk to us a little bit about the significance of being the first Pope from South America and the first Jesuit Pope.
Yeah, interestingly, I've been reading a little bit more about Pope Francis. His parents were Italian. His mother was from northern Italy. I think his father from Rome area. So he has Italian blood, Italian roots. And as Bree was also saying, that look to the Italian cardinals for where the next Pope is going to be. But yeah, first born in South America, certainly, and the first Jesuit, the first Francis. So I think he intended from the beginning to be a departure from his predecessors, Pope Benedict, Pope John Paul II, because of his initial actions, taking the name, and of course the cardinals calling this Pope from South America.
Patrick, we saw the Hollywood version of the conclave a couple of months ago in the movie that was made about this scenario as well. Can you give us a behind the scenes of the non-Hollywood version that maybe, as Bree has discussed, this has been talked about for years and years due to the health of Pope Francis. Is it meaty? Is it something that we would be interested in seeing the actual real version?
Well, I didn't watch the movie, but I know phenomenally a lot about it. But there's certainly not the drama and intrigue, although there is drama and intrigue. I mean, the cardinals themselves are given an incredible task. They have to choose the head of the Catholic Church. And it's not like going to the ballot box and just saying, I like this guy, I like this guy. They have to really dig deep and ask themselves, how am I going to play a part in this choice? And there are whispers, there are groups, and there are cliques that get together and kind of lobby for their candidate. But the cardinals will go into conclave probably in about 2 weeks, and they'll be locked behind doors. They'll vote in the morning, they'll vote in the evening until there's a consensus. I believe it's 2/3 of the cardinals have to be in favor of a certain candidate. And, certain candidates bubble to the top and then they fall down to the bottom as these ballots are read. Of course, we all know that when there's white smoke, that we have a new pope, and black smoke, we don't have a pope. Probably this conclave is going to go on for 3 or 4 days. That's pretty typical over the last 50 years of electing popes. That 3, 4, sometimes 5 days, and we have a person chosen to lead the Catholic Church.
All right, Patrick Nowakowski, thank you so much for the additional context this morning.
Great to be with you.
Well, coming up, the Vatican responds. More on those next steps as the conclave prepares to lay Pope Francis to rest. More on the papacy's timeline moving forward next.
Who doesn't like a good old-fashioned car chase?
Get out of the car. How come you didn't stop? I don't want to.
As far as dumb drunks,
Give you guys a couple minutes to get dressed.
What brought you guys all the way up here?
sex. It's just plain stupid behavior. I'll see you for Cops Reloaded on Merit TV.
Oh, by the way, you're under arrest.
Studies continue to show the benefits of CBD, including how it helps you to stay asleep and wake up well rested. But not all CBD is the same. While many CBD products are oil-based, Sleep Cream's pharmaceutical-grade CBD crystals are over 99% pure, sourced from known small-batch domestic hemp farmers. There's a distinct difference in quality. And Sleep Cream uses 8 times the amount of CBD found in leading competitors' products. While some CBD oils can be gross and smell bad, Sleep Cream uses natural and organic ingredients to give it a soothing lavender scent. Unlike marijuana, Sleep Cream is 100% THC-free. It does not cause a high, and you won't fail a drug test regardless of the amount you use. CBD in Sleep Cream is safe and it's legal. This makes it the world's first and finest non-melatonin CBD-infused cream for sleep.
Are you tired of seeing money all around the house? Then start saving money with First American Home Warranty. First American covers the systems and appliances you depend on every day. And if we can't repair your covered item, we'll replace it.
I've saved thousands, and that makes me happy.
All plans include a no questions asked money back guarantee and flexible payment options so you can never pay for covered repairs again.
Call 1-800-725-2015. That's 1-800-725-2015. Call now.
Hello, I'm former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. A lot of times you can't control the amount of sleep that you're getting. You can't fall asleep or you're tossing and turning all night. You can't get the sleep you need to stay healthy. I know, it's scary unless you use Relaxium Sleep. Relaxium Sleep is a product that's made from natural ingredients, and it usually works from the very first night you try it. It helps you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed, earning your body those quality hours of sleep that it desperately needs.
Join the hundreds of thousands of people who've experienced the relief and health benefits from getting a great night's sleep and get Relaxium Sleep.
The first time I took Relaxium and I slept through the night, I thought, wow, this worked for me. I could not believe it.
Relaxium Sleep is studied, tested, and designed by a neurologist to help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed.
Relaxium Sleep worked from the very first night I took it. I had more focus and mental clarity than I've had in years.
Relaxium is drug-free and not addictive, so you can take Relaxium every night and never worry about side effects. And the best part is, it can start working from the very first night.
When I take Relaxium Sleep, I sleep better than I have in years.
I wake up feeling like I've had the best night's sleep.
Stop being afraid and start sleeping your fears away with Relaxium Sleep. Your body and your mind will thank you.
Mike Huckabee is so confident that Relaxium will work for you, he's asked us to give away 1,000 bottles.
If you're not getting calm enough to go to sleep, take Relaxium Sleep. I promise you it'll work.
Get your risk-free bottle of Relaxium Sleep now. It's guaranteed to work or your money back. Visit tryrelaxium.com or call 800-294-3512. That's tryrelaxium.com or call 800-294-3512.
I just signed an executive order putting the flags of our country, all of them, all federal flags and state flags, at half-mast in honor of Pope Francis. So he was a good man, worked hard, he loved the world, and it's an honor to do that.
President Trump speaking just a short time ago, announcing all flags across the country will be flown at half-staff in honor of Pope Francis, the 88-year-old pontiff passing away following a series of health issues.
Before being elected as Pope in 2013, he served as Archbishop of Buenos Aires and was made a cardinal by Pope John Paul II. Pope Francis's legacy will live on forever. From the beginning, Pope Francis had the common touch.
Buonasera.
A simple good evening from the newly elected Cardinal Jorge Mario Bergoglio from Argentina, the first pope ever from the Americas. Equally at home with the poor and powerful on the lawn of the White House, he made a plea for immigrants.
As the son of an immigrant family, I'm happy to be a guest in this country which was largely built by such families.
The Pope focused much of his attention to those on the peripheries, as he called it, the outsiders, excluded from society.
The hungry, the thirsty, the stranger, the naked, the sick, those in prison.
He was not so popular at times inside the Vatican. Backlash from conservatives upset about his liberal approach to church teaching, promised reforms of financial transparency never fully materializing, and the scandal of sex abuse continuing to be the Catholic Church's biggest struggle.
He met with victims. He expressed heartfelt sorrow. He expressed resolve to get this right. But, you know, most critics, many victims, would say that that wasn't matched with a policy follow-through.
When the coronavirus pandemic hit in 2020, this image of the Pope blessing the world from an empty St. Peter's Square became a symbol for that desolate time. Francis urged nations to share their vaccines with poorer countries and vaccinated hundreds of homeless and underprivileged at the Vatican. From the beginning of the war in Ukraine in 2022, Francis was an outspoken advocate for peace. Francis avoided outright condemnation of Vladimir Putin, but publicly appealed to the Russian president, saying, quote, begging him to stop for the love of his people. He made similar appeals for peace during the conflict in the Middle East, saying that the Israel-Hamas war had descended into terrorism. He insisted that war is always a defeat and said self-defense that is not proportional is immoral. Francis's most important message was one of fraternity, that we are all brothers and sisters despite our differences. Correspondent Barbie Nadeau is live in Rome for us with the latest. Barbie, the Catholic Church is in mourning today. What are you hearing out of the Vatican at this hour? The Pope spent his last hours with the people. Then hours later, it was announced of his death.
Yeah, you know, we haven't been given an official cause of death. We were just told that he died around 7:35 a.m. this morning. Now, that was just mere hours after he had been in St. Peter's Square in his Pope mobile, kissing babies and blessing all of the faithful who had gathered there. He was able to muster up enough strength to bless the crowds and wish everyone a happy Easter, but he was clearly very, very unwell even yesterday. And, you know, he has been convalescing since getting out of the hospital with double pneumonia on March 23rd. His doctors told him to stay away from crowds. Clearly that wasn't advice he took, but he definitely wanted to be with the people until the end, and he certainly was.
What are the next steps as far as electing the next pope?
Yeah, you know, there's a set of circumstances and pomp and circumstances, basically, that has to happen. He will be lying in state as of Wednesday, we're told. He'll be placed inside the coffin in which he'll be buried tonight around 8 p.m. local time. And then after his funeral, which we can expect to be attended by world leaders from everywhere, there will be the conclave. That's when the voting members of the College of Cardinals, those young enough to vote, lock themselves inside the Sistine Chapel and carry out this very secretive process of electing the next pope. Now, that could take anywhere from 1 day, 1 vote, a week, month, could even take years. There is absolutely no limit into the amount of time they are given in order to elect the new pope. And then when they have made their decision, we'll see that famous white smoke coming out of the chimney of the Sistine Chapel. But that will be many weeks from now. There's a lot that has to happen before those College of Cardinals begin voting for his successor.
We've heard from the Vatican officials there. We've heard from world leaders, including President Donald Trump. What are you hearing from people on the street? Again, as you mentioned before, he spent his final hours blessing those, and that was what this Pope wanted to do. He wanted to be out with the people, even getting rid of the Pope mobile, the plastic surroundings. He wanted to touch people, bless them, pray for them. He has done that through his tenure. So what are they saying? Because, again, he was out, and then all of a sudden they're announcing that he died.
Yeah, you know, it came as quite a surprise, but I guess not much of a shock. He was very, very unwell. You know, he is the leader of the world's Catholics, but he was very much a citizen of Rome. You know, this pontiff had, when he needed new eyeglasses, he went himself to the eye doctor here in Rome to pick up his glasses. The church under his leadership basically opened up the Vatican to the homeless. You know, he invited homeless people to celebrate his birthdays with him when he was well a couple of years ago when he was feeling better. You know, his alms almsman, his charity worker, gives the homeless people of Rome permission to sleep basically around the perimeter of the Holy See, of the St. Peter's Square, that giving them blankets in the winter and ice cream in the summer. And, you know, he was really very much a fixture in this community. He would go to the Church of St. Mary Major. That's a church where he liked to be buried. He went there often to pray instead of praying inside St. Peter's Basilica here behind me. And so he'll be very much missed, obviously, by the world's Catholics, but he will be very much missed as well by the citizens of Rome.
Yeah, he was definitely about service and compassion, and we saw that play out with the Pope. Correspondent Barbie Nadeau is live in Rome with the latest. Thank you, Barbie. Chris?
Thank you, Joe. Here's a quick look at other stories we're following this morning. The U.S. Supreme Court has temporarily barred the Trump administration from deporting a group of Venezuelan migrants under the Aliens Enemy Act. The court's decision came after lawyers for the ACLU asked for an emergency stay. The Trump administration is urging the justices to formally reject the request, and the White House is asking the justices to lift their order. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is being linked to the messaging app Signal yet again. He's now accused of using the app on his personal phone to share military plans with his brother, his personal attorney, and his wife. The White House, though, argues no sensitive information was shared over that app. The measles outbreak is growing this morning. Louisiana, Missouri, and Virginia have all now reported their first cases, officially marking 27 states now impacted as this outbreak does spread. All 3 states have reported cases linked to international travel. These cases come amid the growing outbreaks in Canada and Mexico, with 800 cases here in the U.S., 880 in Canada, and 433 in Mexico. Those are just some of the other headlines we're following this morning. Joe, back to you.
Well, coming up, the world in mourning as we learn more about the Pope's final moments. That's next. Plus, a closer look at the process of selecting a new Pope and the accuracy seen in the recent movie Conclave. That's next, right here on Dr. Phil's Merit TV.
No one on the scene that day have ever spoken out in an interview.
I mean, I was there, I talked to him for an hour straight, and I certainly didn't see a cold-blooded killer.
If you had it to do over again, what would you do differently? That's tonight.
Hello, I'm former Arkansas Governor Mike Huckabee. A lot of times you can't control the amount of sleep that you're getting. You can't fall asleep or you're tossing and turning all night. You can't get the sleep you need to stay healthy. I know, it's scary, unless you use Relaxium Sleep. Relaxium Sleep is a product that's made from natural ingredients, and it usually works from the very first night you try it. It helps you fall asleep, stay asleep, and wake up refreshed, earning your body those quality hours of sleep that it desperately needs.
Join the hundreds of thousands of people who've experienced the relief and health benefits from getting a great night's sleep and get Relaxium Sleep.
The first time I took Relaxium and I slept through the night, I thought, wow, this worked for me. I could not believe it.
Relaxium Sleep is studied, tested, and designed by a neurologist to help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up refreshed.
Relaxium Sleep worked from the very first night I took it. I had more focus and mental clarity than I've had in years.
Relaxium is drug-free and not addictive, so you can take Relaxium every night and never worry about side effects. And the best part is, it can start working from the very first night.
When I take Relaxium Sleep, I sleep better than I have in years.
I wake up feeling like I've had the best night's sleep.
Stop being afraid and start sleeping your fears away with Relaxium Sleep. Your body and your mind will thank you.
Mike Huckabee is so confident that Relaxium will work for you, he's asked us to give away 1,000 bottles.
If you're not getting calm enough to go to sleep, take Relaxium Sleep. I promise you it'll work.
Get your risk-free bottle of Relaxium Sleep now. It's guaranteed to work or your money back. Visit tryrelaxium.com or call 800-294-3512. That's tryrelaxium.com or call 800-294-3512.
How does it feel to step into Kizik hands-free shoes? It's like life on easy mode.
It's like singing in a pure bliss.
It feels like game-winning magic. Joy, wonder, delight. What will you feel? Kizik. the ultimate hands-free shoes.
If you're doing everything you can to stay healthy as you age, you've got to check out Pectisol by Eco Nugenics. Developed by a doctor and clinically studied, this may just be what you've been looking for.
Inflammation is at the root cause of many health challenges. Backed by over 80 studies and recommended by thousands of health providers, Pectisol helps keep inflammation levels in balance so you can feel like yourself again.
I recommend Pectisol because there is no better supplement to help keep inflammation in balance and help my patients age optimally.
From supporting improved mobility and day-to-day function to energy and immunity, Pectisol is a powerful tool for health.
I've purchased hundreds of supplements, yet nothing seemed to make a noticeable difference until I started using Pectisol.
Order now and receive 20% off, plus a free gift when you use promo code MCP20 at Pectisol.com.
Weekdays at 8 a.m. Eastern.
All right, let's go.
Get your day going with Steve.
Everybody in a good mood today?
When you're having this much fun, it's Harvey working.
You just went straight up there, didn't you?
Steve, weekdays at 8 a.m. Eastern on Dr. Phil's Merit TV.
Welcome back to our special coverage of the death of Pope Francis this Easter Monday. Joining us now is Monsignor Hilary Franco. He received a doctorate in biblical theology before the age of 24 from Pontifical Lateran University in Rome and attended Fordham University in New York, where he had earned a master's degree in sociology. Monsignor, we appreciate taking the time to join us this morning. You are currently in Rome. Talk a little bit about your initial thoughts when you heard the news of the Pope's death.
Well, to tell you the truth, there is naturally sadness, but at the same time, I know that he's in heaven. He had been suffering, for a long time, as you do know, since the 14th of February. I know Pope Francis since he was Jorge Bergoglio, because I know him since 2002, long time ago, when he was Archbishop of Buenos Aires. Then we kind of had a friendship that naturally came up to visit him many times. I was with him. Actually, I was supposed to be with him on the 9th of April because I'm celebrating my milestone anniversary of ordination. So this was an exceptional man that I am sure that will remain in our memory, and especially the actions that he had taken. We're talking about a man who was really down to earth, concrete man. He was a man who knew what he wanted since the beginning, and these 12 years, he actually put into action whatever he had deemed, perhaps imagined in his kind of inspirational, I would say, that he had received from God. I feel that we are going to miss him for so many things, not only his presence, his humility, his courage. And now look at him. I knew that the situation was kind of serious lately, and I have to tell you, I was so surprised, especially meeting the vice president. And then yesterday appearing. But I knew Francis so well. And I feel that he had something in mind that he had to put into whatever, be with the people of God. That was the essence. Be not only faithful to God, but faithful to his people, the people that had been entrusted to him. All 1,400,000,000 Catholics, but not only the Catholics. I feel that he had in mind to be, as I have mentioned before, on other networks that since this morning, I feel that he actually felt, I would say, his arms like fleshy columns of Bernini. He opened those arms and he wanted to embrace the world, not only the church, not only the faithful, not only his own people, but the people that came and to him from all over the world.
You know, Monsignor, I just want to ask, because with everyone who walks the earth comes controversy, right? And so we're talking about a pope who really pushed boundaries. And how did he wrestle with criticism?
Well, you know, this is the point. I know Francis. We were very good friends. And so...
Uh-oh. His camera there froze up on us. Let's see if we can get him back as we take a live picture at Vatican City. And you can see that people are gathering there to come and pray and send their well wishes and think about and talk about what's next.
Yeah, and yesterday that was full of people, and he came out, he addressed people, he blessed people, and they went home. And hours later, there were reports that he had died. So the Easter weekend, how apropos for that.
Yeah, 7:55 local time there in Vatican City is when the news broke, and we had the Vatican officials there came forward, and no cause of death has been released. Of course, we know that Pope Francis was hospitalized for nearly 40 days. Beginning of the end of, let's see, February into March.
Right, February 14th, actually. We announced it on Valentine's Day.
Right.
Yeah, double pneumonia for the 88-year-old.
He had one of his lungs was removed back when he was 21 years old. Not a lot of people realize that, but was very ill in the last few weeks. But as you have said time and time again, Joe, still wanted to be out and about, still wanted to be among the people. Just yesterday, there's video of him blessing the faithful there in the Vatican City there.
And he also met with Vice President J.D. Vance, and it wasn't a back and forth. I know a lot of reports are saying, well, they disagreed on topics like the border and abortion and things like that. It wasn't that type of meeting. He could have stayed in bed in his room all day and said, God, take me. But he didn't. He was out. Again, the three chocolate bunnies for Vance's kids. That was, a lighter moment. But yeah, if you go to Amazon, you can actually rent the movie Conclave. This will give you a breakdown. Now, Hollywood's version of a breakdown of this movie is specifically at the beginning, the Pope dies, and they go through the entire process. The black smoke, the white smoke, the cliques that are gathering together, speaking behind. I saw the movie. Of course, again, it has a Hollywood spin on it. So we were going to ask Monsignor Hilary Franco about that. But a lot of people are talking about the movie in comparison to, hey, what's the next step? Go watch this movie. It'll give you an insight to what the next step is.
And we'll be right back right after this.
You ever guys have done it before, each other, physically like that?
No one on the scene that day have ever spoken out in an interview.
I mean, I was there, I talked to him for an hour straight, and I certainly didn't see a cold-blooded killer.
If you had it to do over again, what would you do differently?
Could be partially, it could be all my fault.
Because I want to give you a chance to be very clear about this so people know your side of this story. That's tonight on Dr. Phil Primetime.
When it comes to family, I always do what's best. My parents taught me that. That's why I called A Place for Mom. Their personalized guidance was just what I needed to find senior living for Mom. And their advice is free to families. Not just free, invaluable. Our advisor gave us options based on our needs and budget, guiding us to the best decision. I never expected a free service to make such a difference.
Our service comes at no cost to your family. Connect with us today.
Hi, Grandma. I played baseball today.
Oh, that's great.
What position did you play?
First base.
That's what Grandpa used to play. When our hearing wouldn't allow us to use a regular phone, it made us feel isolated.
It became difficult to communicate with our friends and family.
Clear Captions was an easy solution for us.
Clear Captions provides captions on a phone like captioning on your TV, so you can see what the caller is saying live as they say it.
Making it easy to understand and respond immediately.
There is no insurance or Medicare required. Clear Captions service is provided at no cost to you through a federally funded program. We deliver, install, and train you on how to use your phone, all at no cost to you.
Give your loved ones the independence and connection they deserve.
Call now to see if you qualify to get a Clear Captions phone at no cost to you.
Call 1-800-401-2141. That's 1-800-401-2141.
If joint pain from aging is slowing you down, Omega XL can help you get back in the saddle, just like it did for John Walsh.
Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. Got to be really fit to ride these horses. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL, and look what it's done. I feel better than I've felt in the last 30 years.
I'm Reve Walsh. I'm John Walsh's wife. I ride fox hunters, and sometimes I'm in the saddle for 3-5 hours at a time. A lot of work out here.
I wouldn't have been able to do this. Muck a stall, throw hay, do all the things that needs to be done on a ranch a couple years ago. But Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great.
Once you try it, you don't want to be without it. Makes a huge difference.
It does. Take it every single day, and you know, there's a benefit. It's made you a lot nicer to me.
If you've been living with pain, it's time to get this special offer, the Omega XL, the joint health supplement that millions have trusted for more than 20 years. Omega XL, it's sourced from the green-lipped mussel, exclusively found in the pristine waters of New Zealand, some of the cleanest waters on Earth. Omega XL, it's natural, drug-free, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research that show it really works. Try Omega XL today. Pick up your phone and call the number at the bottom of your screen right now for a special offer. Buy one, get two free. 2 bottles of Omega XL plus Vitamin XL D3, a value of more than $100. But call today and you pay only $39.95. That's a savings of more than 60%. Plus, it's backed by our 60-day money-back guarantee.
Try it. You got nothing to lose.
Call or go online right now to get this special offer. 2 bottles of Omega XL plus Vitamin XL D3 for only $39.95. Call now.
He was born Jorge Mario Bergoglio in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 1936 and lived a long life of giving back to so many people. And today we learn he died at the age of 88. You're watching Dr. Phil's Merit TV.
Today on Dr. Phil.
Let's check it. You want to bow up? Let's just bow up.
The wife, the mistress, and the husband who's redefined cheating.
He wants to keep both women at the same time.
Most people would look at it as polygamy. This is polyfidelity. I even amazed myself as far as the sex is concerned.
When I look up polyfidelity in the Dr. Phil dictionary, it says cheating. What a complete and utter load of crap.
And his wife's buying it.
You had sex knowing that hours before he had been in bed having sex with this other woman. I don't see why that's okay with you.
Wait a minute. I'm basically a pretty good guy.
Is this a macho thing with you? You are incredibly arrogant and selfish. Coming up. Let's do it. I want you to get excited about your life.
Here we go.
Stand by, camera set. If you're going to talk to me, you're going to have to be honest.
Stand by, Dr. Phil.
Showtime. This is going to be a changing day in your life.
Stand by A and roll A. Check in. Go, Dr. Phil.
Okay, now today we are uncovering one very twisted love story involving a man, his wife, their 4 children, and his mistress. Now imagine this. Your husband of 20 years falls in love with the other woman, and then he just decides, well, I want to keep you both. Now, can that be done? Charles says, just speak right up. Now, Charles says, yes, it can, that there's no reason that you can't do this. He's been brutally honest with his wife, Tracy, about his 6-month affair. Now, Charles has been juggling his time between his wife and his mistress. And Charles says, why can't I have both women? Take a look.
I'm getting a little older, and I think I'm looking for a change.
In September of last year, he told me that he was involved with another woman. He was not in love with me anymore.
I think I've exhausted my relationship with her after 22 years.
When Charlie told me about the affair, he was brutally honest.
She's already called me twice. She misses me.
Have you asked her to stop calling?
No. I was with both women for a period of 3 months. I even amazed myself as far as the sex is concerned. Didn't even know that I was capable of doing it because I'm nearly 50 and I was acting like a 25-year-old. I have needs and I needed more, and I got that with the other woman. The sex was actually a gift from the other woman to my wife. I know that sounds unbelievable, but it actually woke something up inside of me with her.
The irony in it is when the affair started, I was able to feel passion and emotion that I've never felt before.
The other woman does not have 4 boys in school. She did not have the responsibilities that my wife has. We quickly developed a relationship based on her ability to give me what I wanted. I'm the powerhouse in my environment. I am the alpha. I am the alpha of all my friends. I am the alpha of my family.
Charlie wanted us to explore the possibility of having a triangular relationship.
I can handle keeping both women emotionally and sexually fulfilled. I've always been blessed with a boundless dimension of energy. To me, it was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. I was able to keep it up for 3 months. It was a great ride. Is it bothering you?
For her to call 4 and 5 times a day, every day, I think is a little in excess. I lost 30 pounds. My hair was falling out. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. There's just something that happens in your heart when you find out the guy that you've loved and been intimate with for almost 20 years makes a conscious decision to be intimate with somebody else that he's told you he's in love with. That was very, very hard.
The other woman was very comfortable with exploring a polyfidelity lifestyle. It's a relationship where you don't have to get a divorce and that you would have 2 women in your life.
Charlie kept telling me, what do you have to lose? You have everything to gain. You won't be losing me. You won't be losing our marriage. You'll just share. The thought of it made me sick at my stomach. What do I do, Dr. Phil? Where do I go from here?
I'm in limbo right now because I don't know what to do.
You say you don't know what to do. What part of this is confusing to you?
I don't want to make him leave because I want my marriage to work. And I'm afraid if I throw him out, he's going to go running to the other woman.
So you think it's reasonable to have what you call this polyfidelity relationship?
Well, no, I that was an alternative lifestyle that I wanted to explore. It wasn't something that I said, this is going to work and I'm going to cram it down your throat. I mean, this was an exploration process.
You went to a counselor to make it work?
Well, to explore it.
To explore it?
Yes.
Okay. And what'd your exploration discover?
Well, it discovered that that my wife is absolutely, unwaveringly not going to do it. And that chapter, or the opportunity that I thought existed, that I created in my mind, to be with 2 women, shattered and dissolved right after our first counseling session.
Because you exploded after that, right? You got really mad, very upset with you because you didn't go with it.
But something snapped in me. I felt a little humiliated. I felt like I was going down a road that I shouldn't have gone down. I now have regret over the way I handled this, with my wife.
Why did that seem reasonable to you at the time? Is that part of this alpha male syndrome that you're describing? You say you're the powerhouse alpha male.
Mm-hmm.
That I don't get how bullying your wife fits into some alpha male syndrome.
I never bullied my wife.
Well, it seems to me like you did when you say, I'm making dates in front of her. You said you flaunted the relationship in front of her.
Mm-hmm.
You told her, yeah, it's really heating up over there. And I really don't know that I would pay for you to live if you started dating somebody else. That seems to me to be bullying of the highest order, using money and threats as a lever. Now, if I'm wrong, tell me, because you were there, I wasn't.
No, you're wrong.
Okay, straighten me out.
You weren't there. It seemed like I was handling it in the most loving and caring way while it was happening. It seemed like it. And
I
now,
think because he was being absolutely, totally upfront and honest with me. And he wasn't hiding everything, and he wasn't sneaking around behind my back. And
you said you appreciated that.
I have respect for the fact that he came to me and told me what was going on before the relationship became intimate.
And you thought that was the way to handle it?
no, but that's the way I handled it at the time.
Because, I mean, it's like saying, I robbed the bank, and as long as I tell you, then it should be okay. I mean, I did come rob the bank, I did get the money, but I'm honest about it. I'm calling you and telling you I'm the guy that did it. Okay. That doesn't seem, I mean, I don't see why that's okay with you.
None of this is okay with me. But the fact that it wasn't like I caught him red-handed, I feel like because he's been so honest with me that, I mean, I have a respect for him because he has been that way. He hasn't been, you know, he wasn't a guy that came to me and went, well, you know what, I'm just out of here. You just figure it out.
Are you out of here? Are you going to leave?
First of all, I'm not a bank robber, okay?
Your point?
We went through this together.
Excuse me. I got the feeling that was one of your alpha male confrontations.
No.
No, seriously. No, seriously. You said that and gave me that death stare, like, okay, buddy, I'm calling you out right now. What is this some macho thing with you?
No, it's not. I'm just telling you,
Because you want to bow up? Let's just bow up. Hell, I'm easy to find.
Well, then let's do it.
I mean, what's your point?
My point is
I'm trying to answer your questions because I think you're in a lot of trouble with a woman here that you have huge responsibilities for and have made a huge investment in. And you said, I made some decisions that seemed like a good idea at the time, and in retrospect, they weren't. I'm trying to be your friend here and tell you, you may be making some mistakes now that you want to consider. I don't ask you to substitute my judgment for your own, but I do want to give you some things to weigh, some alternatives to weigh. We're going to take a break. Up next, Charles says he wants his wife and his mistress to be friends because they have a lot in common, and he thinks that they would, besides him, and that they would like each other. We're going to talk about that next.
Polyfidelity is the relationship where you have two women in your life.
I'm a very traditional person. I think that intimacy is sacred.
It has worked for thousands of years in other cultures. So why should we be victimized just because we live in America?
No one on the scene that day have ever spoken out in an interview.
I mean, I was there, I talked to him for an hour straight, and I certainly didn't see a cold-blooded killer.
If you had it to do over again, what would you do differently? That's tonight.
And that's my family.
Thank you, Maddie. Who'd like to go next? Caleb, come on up.
I'm very excited today because my whole family is here. This is my mom, and my brother, and my dad.
Thank you, Caleb. You have a beautiful family.
Oh, I'm not done. My family's way bigger than that. There's my doctor, and my nurse, my physical therapist, my receptionist, my Shriner, and of course my buddy Alan.
What's up, Caleb?
And I can't forget you. You're a part of my family too, because your monthly gift makes it possible for kids like me to get the care we need when we need it the most.
When you call this special number and give just $19 a month, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you, and reminder of the kids you're helping get the care they need each and every day.
It's the generous support from thousands of people just like you that makes it possible for Caleb's family to give him and all the other kids the best care possible.
Please call the number on your screen. With your gift of just $19 a month, you'll become a part of this extended family.
Your monthly gifts helps other children experience the amazing family-focused care that Shriners Hospitals for Children provides.
And we provide this care for every child, regardless of their family's ability to pay.
Because they're not just doctors and nurses, they're family.
Thank you. Thank you for giving.
Please, call the number on your screen right now to give. If operators are busy, hold patiently or give at loveshiners.org right away. Big or small, your gift helps us all.
My wife and the woman I was having the affair with, I thought would be interesting for them to become best friends.
He even asked me last night what it was about her that I